do I need to have a daily practice? And why do I need to have a daily practice? And in the realm of cleansing programs and detoxification programs and eating healthy, people have said, well, do I need to eat like this the rest of my life? So it's an interesting question. And I think the question begs to ask someone, why are you asking that question? Are you trying to avoid living healthy for the rest of your life? And I always say, it's interesting because it's more important what you do 80% of the time. If you can do a really good practice 80% of the time, give yourself permission then to go a little astray. Now, I know if you're a purist, you won't agree with me, but I want to be a pragmatist. I want to be a realist, and I want to have fun, and I want to leave breathing room for life's grand adventures to come into play because, we all need a breather. We all need to come off the wheel once in a while. We all need to travel. We need our grand adventures. And so I am not a firm believer in having to hold steady and hold firm just because you think you should. I'm a rule breaker. I've always been a rule breaker. And I know that there are rules that are necessary. There are some things that some people can never do. Like alcohol might be the one thing that you really cannot break that rule of abstinence from. It might be sugar. It might be sugar is the thing, especially if you're a diabetic, that you really don't want to play with because that will send your glucose level, um, you know, either into a hyperglycemic mode or into a low or hypoglycemic mode. So there are certain things you cannot play with, and certain things you really cannot give yourself leeway with. But in the realm of it, that's why it's good to have a daily practice. So, kind of like when you're um, playing, what is it called? Bowling, right? When you're in the bowling alley and you want the bowl to roll somewhere in the middle, of course you can go into the gutter and you'll get no points. And sometimes we do roll the ball into the gutter, and I've been known to do that as well. But primarily, what you want to do is 80% of that time, the 80-20 rule, you want to roll it in the middle so that you're going to get a hit and you're going to have a success and you're going to have a home run, if you will. Uh, Bowling, baseball, basketball, football, I've been known to kind of um, play with all of those different sports. And don't ask me who the lead of anything is. Um, Sports is not my thing necessarily, but I'm a team player. I like to be on a team. I like to be in community. I like to have connection. But getting back, why have a daily practice? It's simply so that you have some guidelines. And the more you do the daily practice, you need to put some things into play so it becomes your second nature. So if brushing your teeth was not second nature, then or first nature, you want to keep it first nature. So yeah, let's not talk about not brushing your teeth, but generally, at least you're going to brush your teeth once a day, if not 2 or 3 times a day. And so when you have a daily practice of that, if you wake up in the morning and you forget to brush your teeth, it kind of feels like something isn't right. So, as we get older and we put that into practice, it just becomes as easy as brushing our teeth in the morning, as easy as drinking a glass of water in the morning, as easy as opening our eyes in the morning. And we know that that's a miracle and that's a gift, not to be taken for granted. So the thing is that the more you put something into practice, the more it will become like second nature. And you don't have to think about it. You don't need to dwell on it. It's just something that is as easy as putting one foot in front of the other foot. And, it's hard to get that momentum going sometimes. So if you're used to having like junk food and sugar, it's hard sometimes for the body to acclimate to not having that. There is a level of addiction within sugar because you get a certain feeling from it. And when you start to wean off of it, your taste buds kind of desire it, and your mood swings can go up and down and around having missed it. I mean, I know early on my practice, when I took sugar away from people, they actually started to feel like less muscle tension, and they experienced, fewer headaches. And so I came to understand that food really played an important role in emotional response, in our um, the way that we adapted to situations, whether someone was hyperactive or hypoactive, whether someone was irritable and cranky, whether, someone was prone to having yeast infections, whether someone was prone to um, having a kind of hangover effect, like mild malaise and headache and things like that. I mean, all related to food. So you would think, oh, what's the big deal if I eat this or eat that? But what I came to understand in, the nutritional realm, because I was putting people early on cleansing programs and having them eliminate certain foods, was that it really played a role and potentially played havoc in their emotional, mental, and states of well-being. And so that was something that I, garnered early on, and I was able to use that as teaching me of how body, mind correlated with all of that. But in the realm which I like to call is, mindfulness, and mindfulness plays a role in so many things we do. Right now I speak about we can all live to be 150, and I say it because I can envision it, and I want to envision it. And I've known people into 103, 104 years old. Now, I've also seen people, at 90 not be so healthy cognitively. And I've seen people at 80, and I've seen people at 70 not be so healthy cognitively, physically, emotionally. So the thing is, when we talk about living to be 150, some people will immediately say, well, who wants to be 150, Nene? I don't want to be 150. I was like, well, why not? Well, because I don't want to be sickly. I don't want to be old. I don't want to be feeble. I don't want to not be able to walk or think or laugh. And I say, yeah, of course, I don't want to be 150 and be feeble and be in pain or be any of those things either. But when I envision 150, I think, oh, imagine 150 and being healthy and being vital and having all your body parts functioning. So I envision it as a great place because I love life and I want to be here and I'm curious as hell. I've always been curious. I mean, I woke up being curious. When I was born, my first thought was, why am I here? Like, what's my purpose? That I remember to be my first thought in life. And so I want to live to be 150 because I'm curious. And I know that in this dawning of Aquarius, the new age of Aquarius coming through, where there is laser technology and there's AI and there's all of this technology that is booming, it's just now starting and it's going. I mean, we'll be having flying cars like the Jetsons, and we'll be having electric cars, and we'll be having space cars, and we'll be imagining ourselves out in space, Mars, Mercury, Uranus, Venus, I mean, wherever we go. But it's always interesting to me that apparently we have more trillions of cells within our bodies than there are actually stars in the universe. So we also need to think about exploring within us. The adage, as within, so without, as above, so below. And so that's why I think the practice of meditation, the practice of mindfulness, the practice, and again, I say practice because it needs to be a daily practice of tuning our brains. And we know that we use a small portion of our brains. Like, what is the rest of our brain doing if we're only utilizing a small portion of it? Well, it's functioning at the highest level and at a level that most of us consider unimaginable because our bodies are doing things like unbeknownst to us. It's keeping us healthy. Our immune system, like there are cells that are interrelating with each other, they're communicating with each other, they're making things happen, and we don't even have to say it. We don't have to tell ourselves to digest. We don't have to tell our stomachs to produce hydrochloric acid. We don't have to tell our pancreas and small intestine to produce the pancreatic enzymes and the digestive enzymes to break down our food, our carbohydrate, our fats, and our protein. It just happens. I mean, that's the miracle of our bodies and the miracle of nature. And that is what I say is kind of the God energy. And that miracle is happening every day all around us. And so imagine if we actually practice to have what we call a coherent field of understanding, where we're fine tuning our brain. And we know that there's a brain gut correlation. We know that there's a mind heart correlation. I mean, all these things have been, somewhat known in the Eastern tradition in terms of Chinese medicine and, the study of acupuncture and the study of Tai Chi and energy medicine, as we call it, as I call it. And if you start to do some of these practices, this practice of mindfulness, of meditation, and start going into your body. I mean, there are meditations where you can actually, which I love, is send healing light energy into your body and clear headaches. You can clear muscle spasms. So you can start to direct your body to do things and to heal. Because I say at any age, you can recreate yourself, you can regenerate, you can reactivate. But we need to have the tools. And so the first tool is believing in yourself, trusting yourself, and then doing it. You need to practice it because you need to practice and you need to try it and you need to find your own beliefs around it. It's not enough for me to say, hey, the body heals itself, the gut heals, that you can recreate. But if you take it step by step and just in the stillness of the moment and try it out, what do you have to lose? What do you have to lose if you open your mind to the possibility that you could be 150, that you could be vital at 150, you could still be having fun, you could still be sharing stories, you could still be contributing to society. I mean, the planet needs our help, but first we need to help ourselves. It's the taking the oxygen mask down and making sure that you're breathing first. Before you save your children, you need to save yourself. Before we think about saving the planet, we need to take stock and see, where are we being destructive? Where are we being violent? Where are we not being healthy? What can we do? What can I do? What do I need to do to take responsibility? What do I need to do to be healthy? And then that's where it begins, right? It all begins with the first thought, the first step. The journey of 1,000 miles begins with the first step. Uh, Try it. You never know. So that's why I say it's important to do a daily practice, because you do it for a minute, you do it for a second, you do it with just the thought, and then you allow it to grow. From 1 minute, you can do it for 2 minutes, 3 minutes, 4 minutes, 5 minutes. You think, oh, I don't have time. Of course you have time. You make time. You make time for all the important things in your life. You make time because if you don't make time, sometimes life makes you make time. And I know this has been one of the really hardest summers. Um, Car accidents, crashes, falls, burns, um, a lot of things going on, a lot of things going on. And so when life seems to feel like the sky is falling, having a daily practice keeps you in tune, keeps you steady state, and allows you to keep your adaptability. And adaptability is really the name of the game, because life is constantly changing. And if we don't adapt, and if we harden our hearts and harden our thoughts and harden our ideas, we will not be adaptable. We will not be changeable. We will not stay open to all the possibilities that are there for us, just waiting. Miracles are waiting to happen. So you need to keep yourself open, and you need to keep yourself exploring and stay in the conversation. So many people now, I mean, we're all so divided because we don't want to hear someone else's point of view. If you can hear someone else's point of view with love and laughter, not laughing at someone, just kind of embracing. I mean, nobody's 100% right, nobody's 100% wrong. Everyone has a point of view. And unfortunately, we're taught at an early age to have hatred and to have prejudice and to have small minded ideas. So when you open your mind and when you're happy, you know how it spreads. It's infectious. When I laugh, I know people laugh with me. And when I laugh, people say, "Ah, I love your smile. I love your energy." And it makes me want to do more of that. Wants me, to share it more. And so that's been my life lesson. I lived in the city way back when, and I lived in a neighborhood where people were afraid to walk, but I had incredible experiences. And I had people that other people thought scary look at me and say, "Hey, lady, you have a beautiful smile. God bless you." God bless me. It's like, wow, thank you. Thank you. I really appreciate that. And so, we kind of give what we get and we receive what we put out. So take a moment and start a daily practice. This is all about why do I need a daily practice? And this is why. It starts with 1 second of your attention. And then that 1 second expands and let it expand to 10 minutes a day of mindfulness, 10 minutes twice a day of mindfulness, 10 minutes, 3 times a day of mindfulness. And mindfulness helps us stay in the moment, helps us stay in our heart, helps us stay in the coherence of our brain and our heart and our gut. So we're all interrelated. I mean, our bodies are interrelated. Our body, my brain, my mind, it's not separate. Everything communicates. And so we have a certain vibrational frequency, and that's called energy. And whether you call it energy or Tai Chi or Chi energy, or we call it cosmic force or universal life energy, we call it God, we call it chaos, we call it universal, whatever you want to name it, a rose by any other name would smell as sweet. And so the sweetness of my thought for the day is be mindful and have a daily practice. Love yourself. Love yourself so that you can love your life and love your friends and your family and love your environment and spread the message. Okay. Ciao, ciao for now. And keep a daily practice.